The following presentation contains discussions of an intelligent manner. Viewer discretion is advised.
Eagerly pursuing all the latest fads and trends, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fashion. Oh yes he is, oh yes he is, oh yes he is, oh yes he is.
Friends, enemies, and internet losers, I have returned. Hello. My name is Baroness Cameron, and you are watching Hey Dumbass. This is an elementary school Canadian history textbook. The reason why I'm holding this, other than the fact that I absconded with it years ago, is because today I'd like to talk about history. Now, yesterday I was, watching the Obama visit, and it was kind of cool to watch the whole thing. It reminded me that history is always happening. History isn't just, 1,000 years ago. History is also, yesterday. Now, this past week in Canada, we figured out that history isn't just 250 years ago, it's also a week ago. For those of you who don't know, nearly 250 years ago, the British and the English were fighting a war that lasted for 7 years, hence 7 Years' War. Here in North America, it was referred to as the French and Indian War. Now, over the past year, recreationists, these guys who, get together and fire blanks at each other, have been doing recreations of some of the famous battles of the 7 Years' War. One of those battles is the battle for the Plains of Abraham, which is just outside of Quebec City. Now, there are several sovereignists, or sovereigntists. We used to call them separatists, but apparently we can't call them separatists anymore. They're sovereigntists, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because the point of a sovereigntist is to have a sovereign Quebec, remove it from Canada, and therefore separate. Anyway. So, September 13th, 1759, the armies of the English and the French met on the Plains of Abraham, and in a little less than 20 minutes, the French, under Louis-Joseph, the Marquis de Montcalm, were pretty much routed. Montcalm himself was mortally wounded and died, I think, the next day. General Wolfe, the English commander, was mortally wounded and died that day, right there on the Plains of Abraham. Now, the French were mostly militia. The British were regular army, which kind of explains. And also there was some mistakes made on the French side. September 18th, 1759, the British took Quebec City, and by the end of 1860, New France was gone. Now, the sovereigntists have effectively stopped the recreation of this battle. Some of them said they would use some violence to interrupt it. Some people said they would just interrupt it, period. Now, I think that's a shame, in the sense that you can't rewrite history just because you don't like it, even though I admit that pretty much everybody does. But why did we have to? It's not as if this was like the Battle of the Boyne, which was, let me check my notes here, July 1st, 1690, between the Catholic King James and the Protestant King William. As it says here in my notes, the battle won by William was the turning point in James's unsuccessful attempt to regain the crown, and ultimately helped ensure the continuation of Protestant supremacy in Ireland. Now, for the longest time, the Orange Order, which is a Protestant organization, would celebrate this battle by marching through Catholic neighborhoods in Ireland, and we all know how some of the people in those neighborhoods tended to react to that. Now, unlike the Battle of the Boyne, the Plains of Abraham was not the deciding battle in the fall of New France, but yet it seems to be one that sticks in their craws. Now, unlike the Irish Republican Army, I don't think we have too many worries about the FLQ coming back. For those of you who don't know, the FLQ, the Front de Libération du Québec, or the Quebec Liberation Front in English. In the 200 bombings, several kidnappings, and they're responsible for the death of 5 people. Now, they have the distinction of being one of Canada's only truly homegrown terrorist groups. We did have another group called Direct Action, better known as the Squamish Five, who in the 80s managed to blow up a BC Hydro substation, the loading dock at a plant that made parts for cruise missiles, and they firebombed a porn video store. I think possibly my favorite action pulled off by Direct Action would be Ann Hansen, one of their members, sneaking a tomato into court and whipping it at the judge as he read out their sentence. Now, that being the case, that on the East Coast, terrorism seems to work a bit better than it does here. I think that what the Sovereigntists did this time around was a form of terrorism. They were denying the entire nation a piece of its history. And I think that it was wrong for us to give in. What we should have done is, if they wanted to interrupt the battle, is give the British recreationists real guns and see if it turned out the way it did the first time. Bye.
Eagerly pursuing all the latest fads and trends, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fashion.